It started with the sound of laughter that didn't belong in a place like that. The kind of laughter that slices through the air, mocking, cruel, and sharp enough to make the hairs on the back of your neck rise. The little roadside diner on Highway 9 was supposed to be a quiet stop for truckers and travelers, a safe haven for a girl named Mara Quinn, who had just finished a long day's shift at the auto shop across town. But on that sunny afternoon, the air outside shimmered with heat, and inside that diner, something far darker was about to unfold. If you believe in kindness, justice, and the power of second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. It helps us continue bringing real, emotional stories that remind us of the good and the strength still left in this world. Mara was 23, quiet but strong in the way people become after losing too much too young. Her mother had passed when she was 16. Her father, a Vietnam vet, had drowned his grief in whiskey and cigarettes until his heart gave up 2 years later. Her only family left was her brother, Cole Bear Quinn, a towering man with tattoos that crawled up his arms like vines, the kind of man whose presence made even hardened bikers take a step back. Cole wasn't just any biker. He was one of the Hells Angels, respected, feared, and fiercely loyal to his own. But Mara was different. She wanted nothing to do with the patch. She fixed cars, lived in a small apartment above the garage, and dreamed of saving enough money to leave town. To start over somewhere her last name didn't carry the shadow of her brother's world. That afternoon, she had stopped at the diner for lunch, her usual spot. She liked the corner booth by the window, where the light spilled in and warmed her hands as she ate. Across the room sat a group of 3 young men, loud, cocky, and clearly looking for trouble. They wore leather jackets with no colors, wannabe bikers playing tough. One of them, a tall man with a buzz cut and mirrored sunglasses, kept staring at Mara. She ignored him, focusing on her sandwich, trying to tune out the noise. But it didn't stop. "Hey, sweetheart," he called across the room, his voice dripping with arrogance. "That's a nice shirt. You wear it for me?" Mara didn't look up. She'd dealt with men like this before, drunk, stupid, and desperate for attention. She just wanted to finish her meal and leave. But the man wasn't done. He stood, swaggered toward her booth, and leaned in too close. "Come on, don't be shy. Smile a little." When she pushed his hand away, something in him snapped. The diner went quiet as he grabbed the front of her shirt and yanked. The sound of tearing fabric cut through the silence. Gasps filled the room. Mara froze, the humiliation burning through her skin. She stumbled back, clutching the torn fabric to her chest. The cook shouted for him to stop. The waitress dropped her tray. But the man just laughed, a loud, ugly sound that filled every corner of the diner. "What's the matter, sweetheart? Don't like a little fun?" Mara's heart pounded. For a moment, she thought about calling the police. But she knew how that went in this town. They'd show up hours later, file a report, and tell her to be more careful. Instead, she picked up her bag, eyes shining with tears, and walked out. The men laughed as she left. They didn't know who she was. They didn't know whose sister they had just touched. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the highway in gold, a black Harley rumbled into town. The sound was low, steady, like distant thunder. Cole Quinn had just returned from a ride across state lines. When he walked into the garage and saw his sister sitting on the concrete floor, clutching a ripped shirt and crying silently, something inside him broke. She didn't need to tell him much. He saw it all in her eyes, the fear, the humiliation, the anger she didn't know how to release. Cole wasn't a saint, he'd done things in his life that left permanent scars. But his sister? She was his light. The one thing that reminded him he was still human. When she told him what happened, the garage fell silent except for the faint ticking of a cooling engine. Cole didn't shout. He didn't curse. He just nodded once, his jaw tightening like a steel trap. "Where?" he asked quietly. Mara shook her head. "Don't, Cole. Please. I just want to forget it." But he couldn't. He kissed her forehead gently, walked out, and climbed onto his Harley. The engine roared to life, echoing down the empty streets. The diner was closing when Cole arrived. The few customers still inside felt the shift in the air before they even saw him. The door creaked open, and the big man stepped inside, his leather vest bearing the Hell's Angels patch glinting under the fluorescent light. The three men from earlier froze. The buzzcut one looked up and sneered, trying to act brave. "What do you want, old man?" Cole didn't answer. He walked to their table, his boots heavy against the linoleum floor. Then, in one swift motion, he grabbed the man by the collar and slammed him against the wall. Plates rattled. The man's sunglasses clattered to the floor. "She's my sister," Cole said, voice low and calm, but every word felt like a blade. "The girl you thought was fun to humiliate? That was Mara Quinn. You hurt her." The man tried to speak, but Cole pressed harder. The diner went dead silent. "You don't touch women. Not ever. Not anywhere. Not in my town." He released him, letting him fall to the floor. "Now, you're gonna make this right." The men nodded frantically. Cole didn't raise his fists, didn't make threats. He just turned and walked out, the rumble of his motorcycle following a few seconds later. But that wasn't the end of it. Word spread fast. The story of what happened to Mara reached every biker, every shop, every corner of town.